here's that guy, and here's that guy, and I feel like Spider-Man is an interesting enough character that we don't need all these, like, celebrity guest appearances.
Hi, I'm Luke.
And I'm Becca, and we're talking about movies like we know stuff.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. We're a little bit slow on this one, but we finally got to see Spider-Man. I forgot the subtitle.
Brand new day.
Brand new day, perfect. A+ professionalism on this channel at all times.
We don't get paid enough to be professional.
Exactly. But we got to go see it, and so we're gonna do a review on it here. First things first, Rebecca is going to give us a synopsis of the movie. Then we'll talk about our spoiler-free thoughts. Then for those of you who still haven't seen the movie, we will warn you guys, and then we'll go into our full spoiler review of the movie. So Rebecca, kick us off.
All right, so this newest installment, of course, picks up after the last Spider-Man installment when Peter Parker had Dr. Strange help him erase the minds of his best friend and his girlfriend so they no longer remember him.
And the rest of the world, too.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, to forget that it was Peter, not
Correct.
To forget that Spider-Man existed.
Yeah, right.
But, so right now, Peter is living this very solitary life where he's basically just only focusing on work, trying to be the most, like, efficient Spider-Man possible, while, frankly, wrestling with his crushing loneliness. And at the start of the film, you see that he's coming across a villain that he doesn't even know what they look like. They appear to inhabit the minds and bodies of people. They seem to hop from body to body like a host. So he's trying to find this villain while also, in typical Spider-Man fashion, going through his own personal existential crisis journey. And that's it.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, pretty much. There's a lot of layers. It's a
There's
superhero
many layers
movie.
to it. So we'll start off this review as spoiler-free, and again, like I said in the beginning, we'll warn you when the spoilers are coming. So, Rebecca, initial impressions on the movie?
I mean, I'm coming from a place of a lot of Spider-Man nostalgia.
Okay.
I've loved all of them.
Granted, your Spider-Man t-shirt that you're currently wearing.
I am wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt right now because I love the Spider-Man ride at Universal, which is where I bought it. But again, Spider-Man, the original Tobey Maguire movies, that's what got me hooked on Spider-Man as a superhero in general. And I've loved pretty much every iteration since then. And I did have concerns wondering, how could this possibly have an emotional impact after the last one, which felt like the most epic Spider-Man because you had them all coming together. It was real life Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a home run. I really do.
Yeah, it was a great movie. They just keep outdoing themselves with the Spider-Man movies. And it shows every single time. There's always an interesting story, an interesting dynamic, an interesting bad guy. Just always well done. The cinematography is always great. It's always got that classic Spider-Man feel. You know, you always have like...
The fight choreography is amazing.
The fight choreography is great. You always have the scene where Spider-Man is sitting on a ledge and then you realize that he's actually sitting on the ledge upside down, you know? And so there's always those classic Spider-Man tropes that always just do really well.
The sweeping shots, like, that's what really sold me on these movies as a kid. That obviously now, like, the 2001 Tobey Maguire version looks so elementary compared to what we have now.
Right.
But that blew my mind at the time. The camera work of, like, I'm flying through New York! And obviously it's just plussed up now in the year 2026.
Right, exactly. The score is great for this movie. It's a very symphonic score. I know with the Spider-Man movies, they've kind of been dabbling with more pop music or music that's not necessarily symphonic. This one goes back to its symphonic roots, and I really appreciate that. There's a lot of music on that one that I think would end up on our Spotify playlist for movies. So I really appreciate the music there.
Yeah, just a very solid installment.
Yeah.
Something that I want to say that I do think would fall into non-spoiler territory is that because this is the Tom Holland Spider-Man, it's the Spider-Man that's in the Avengers universe.
Yeah, it's owned by Disney.
So you have crossover characters appear.
Yeah, everywhere, and it's fun to see them. Yeah.
It's fun, but I wonder, I don't know, maybe this is me being a curmudgeon and the internet's gonna come after me with torches, but I think I still prefer superhero movies when they're more standalone.
Okay.
Even the Marvel movies that I like more than others tend to be more standalone.
Okay.
Like Black Panther and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
And I do like the Spider-Man movies, and I would say those have like minimal crossover, obviously compared to like any of like the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels a little kitschy, a little like, oh hey, here's that guy and here's that guy, and I feel like Spider-Man is an interesting enough character that we don't need all these like celebrity guest appearances
Yeah.
on like a Scooby-Doo episode.
Right. I see both sides of it. So I see that bringing in other characters from other series in a appropriate way, I think makes the world feel more connected and blended. But on the other hand, it feels like, hey, let's just throw this character in because they're a popular character. We want to make sure that they're still relevant within the universe. So there's a balance to be had for sure. And it sounds like your opinion is that there's too many crossover characters. I'd say there could be less, but I don't know if I would necessarily go back to like the original like Spider-Man crossover.
I mean, I know that they exist in the same universe, so it's fine.
Sure.
But maybe I'm still wearing my nostalgia goggles for all the superhero movies that I grew up on didn't have crossovers. They just existed in their own universe, and that was it.
Sure.
And it cheapens it a little bit for me.
Okay. So it doesn't make the universe feel more connected to you, like this event happening in this movie triggered this event in this other movie from this other series?
I mean, the cynic in me feels like it's a little gimmicky, and it forces me to be committed to all these superheroes that I'm not committed to. Like, I'm very committed to Spider-Man. I will see every iteration of Spider-Man until my dying day.
Okay, all right.
But I am not committed to who the new Black Widow is.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's honestly a little bit of an annoyance that I'm like,
Yeah.
I like Disney and Marvel, like they're punishing me for not seeing every like gosh darn film that
Yeah.
they ever make, regardless of whether I care, because they're gonna throw them into a cameo, and I'm gonna be pulling out my phone to be like, okay, who's this guy?
Yeah, we're definitely coming at this from a perspective where we're not like mega Marvel nerds, so we don't know all the inner ties on this. So
I mean, I've seen most of them, but
Yeah.
some of them were honestly forced.
you've actually seen more than me. So you would potentially know more ties. I've played more of the games and understand more of the comic books, but you have seen more of the movies of this cinematic universe than I have.
There's only a couple I haven't seen, and it ticks me off because a couple I haven't seen, again, I feel like I'm punished for it.
They're like majorly important for certain aspects of
We're
these
important
movies.
enough. It's kind of like a nod that like you're not in the club, or like you're not
Sure.
you're not as dedicated as a fan as we would like.
Yeah, give us your money.
Like, I have a life.
Money, please.
I have other interests. I have finite years on this earth, and I can't see every Marvel film.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. Completely fair.
But I think that's more of a comment maybe on the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general,
Then Spider-Man
and like
specifically.
my personal gripes.
Sure, yeah, that's completely
I don't think
fair.
it takes away from the movie that much. It's something that I'm like, of course, I didn't see that like the new Black Widow movie, so now I'm having to figure out why Florence Pugh is here.
Yeah, right. This has nothing to do with Spider-Man, but the one negative thing that I would like to say in the spoiler-free section is the theater that we saw this movie in was right next to apparently another gigantic theater, and apparently that wind tunnel the movie was being shown next
Yeah,
door
maybe
because
it's like Twister, like a re-release.
every time there was a quiet scene in our movie, you could just hear the subwoofer in the other theater just rumbling like crazy. It was distracting me significantly, but that's a comment on the theater and not on not on Spider-Man.
Which we're not going to
specifically.
point out.
No, exactly. But anyway, I would say thumbs up. I can definitely see why this movie is doing so well. I think I read an article that said that it's targeting like $1 billion domestically, just domestically of revenue, which is insane for a movie.
It's only been a couple weeks.
I think that's a record. I'm almost positive that's a record. I don't think I've ever heard that number before. So crazy to think that this movie is doing that well. Not because it's a bad movie, but just because $1 billion for a film is something that's just unheard of, I think. It's crazy. So, thumbs up for me.
Oh yeah, thumbs up for me too.
Okay, good. Yeah. I figured we were going to agree on that one. So, see this one in the theaters if you can, but I mean, they're packing out still, and we're, 2 weeks late on this?
Yeah, buy your tickets in advance because we thought that we were supposed to see it a week ago, and the theaters were sold out before we could get there.
And this
so,
week, we almost didn't get to see it again.
Also, this theater was sold out.
It was, yeah. It was
By the end of the
absolutely
night, every seat was gone.
sold out. Every seat was gone. So, yeah, if you can get out to see it, get your tickets early if you can. It's doing great, and it's no wonder that it is.
Yeah.
So, well, before you go, before those of you who are avoiding spoilers are leaving, remember to give us a like and leave us a comment and subscribe, and we'll see you guys after the break. All right, and we're back. Final warning, this is spoilers for the Spider-Man movie. Becca, take it away.
Okay. So, something that is revealed later in the film, I'd say still in the first act, is that Peter's his superpowers, they start to kind of short circuit. And at times not work, or at times become really strong, and he figures out that that's basically caused from overwork and emotional distress. That basically he's lonely and sad and he's working too much.
Right, yeah.
And I thought that was interesting whenever his powers would short circuit and then kind of come back in a burst. It's the first time, and I didn't realize this until watching the film, that I've ever seen Spider-Man fight offensively and not defensively. Because he's really a very defensive superhero.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he doesn't hurl bad guys into knives. He just disarms them. You know, he's very...
Well, that was kind of the trade-off they were showing you, and that's his growth through the movie, is when his powers elevate, you know, you see his eyes go like completely black, and that's kind of like evil Spider-Man losing control Spider-Man, basically.
Right.
And that's when he fights offensively. It's almost like...
he's like going feral.
It's almost like dark Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the one where he wore the black suit.
Right.
It's like that, but this version of that, basically. And so he becomes more of an offensive fighter, a fighter that wants to hurt people, basically. And at the end of the movie, he learns to embrace his stronger powers while not giving in to the more aggressive evil side of those powers, basically.
Right, like not giving into this kind of like manic rage.
Exactly, yeah.
And yeah, it's funny, again, I'm like a big Spider-Man stan, and I feel like that still never stuck out to me that much, how like much of a pacifist he is.
Right, yeah.
For being a superhero.
Yeah, that's always kind of like something that people don't mention or notice until you point it out, and then you're like, oh yeah, he is totally a pacifist fighter.
Yeah, it's not that he's never won a fight or inflicted damage on anybody. It's his last-ditch effort.
Yeah, he would never kill a bad guy intentionally. Again, barring the times where he like loses control and becomes evil Spider-Man or whatever.
Or if he's genuinely like, defending somebody. But it's never this like kind of like Hulk rage that we saw in that scene.
Yeah, no, he'll punch people, he'll beat them up and all that kind of stuff. But like you said, he will never do like the finishing blow on anything. He will wrap them up in a spider web and hang them from a telephone pole or something like that.
Or let nature take its course. Like,
yeah, right, exactly. So, yeah, that was interesting. So I have to ask you about the twists.
Sure.
So first off, when MJ is controlled by Jean Grey, and then the second one where the government leader guy lies to Spider-Man. Did you see both of those twists coming?
I kind of, the MJ one I saw less, but I thought, oh really? If she really remembers him because they kissed, that is the lamest plot point
Okay,
ever.
good.
And I'm not going to be about
You're
it.
exactly where I was. I was like, okay,
That's dumb.
either this is terrible plot convenience or she's being controlled by Jean Grey at this moment. So I called that one 50-50, called that one right off the rip. The government guy being controlled, I noticed the lie that he told, but I didn't know if it was Jean Grey controlling him or if he was actually lying. So I saw both of those.
Yeah.
I called both those twists pretty quickly.
I definitely called the government too.
Yeah.
As soon as the Sadie Sink character was like, Sarah, I'm like, oh, she's nice. They kidnapped somebody that she loves. They're bad. Shocker.
Right, yeah. Oh, could have seen that coming.
The government's not good. No way.
Who would have thought the government
this
was bad?
evil lab where they're doing evil lab things isn't good.
Right, exactly.
I never saw that coming.
Yeah, exactly.
But like Dr. like Brennan from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
He's not a nice guy.
Right.
He's clearly not a nice guy.
People go on the internet and tell lies. How could they? Another critique I want to put in this review is Spider-Man's outfit felt a little too animated this time around. Like in all the other Spider-Man movies, I believe his outfit, he's actually wearing it. I understand with CGI now, pretty much every single thing that Spider-Man does is a CGI replacement, essentially. It's a virtual body double. But the costume, for some reason, they were doing a bunch of close-ups on it, and it felt too fake to me. Like I remember there was this one time where, whenever
a lot of the scenes looked like a video game.
A little bit.
Not like with people, but a lot of the action looked like a video game.
The scene where he's in the hot tub with a new Black Widow or whatever, and he just has the mask on, that was like very noticeable to me. The mask looked like it was literally painted on. Like I could tell it was a CGI mask. It wasn't hidden very well. So I was a little disappointed in the CGI of the Spider-Man suit this time around. It wasn't as impressive to me as it normally is.
Yeah. Maybe they just did that in every scene, figuring like, well, we're gonna commit.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So it's not this obviously like faded piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Compared to the super bright, vibrant, perfect CGI suit.
Right,
in other
yeah.
scenes.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. So One good thing I will say about the movie that I really liked was the cinematography was great. You mentioned it in the spoiler-free review. The sweeping shots were incredible. You got all the classic Spider-Man shots where he's, sitting on the edge of a cliff, but oh, surprise, he's actually upside down. He's on the underside of the cliff, That's all great. But one shot really stood out to me. In one of the final fight scenes when he's fighting the ninja people, he does this move where he does a bicycle kick on one of the ninjas and he lands upside down and the camera rotates with him. So when he's doing the bicycle kick, he's facing upside right the entire time. So when he rotates 180 degrees, the camera rotates with him 180 degrees. And it was, I don't know, that shot, I was like, whoa, that was cool. Yeah. I can't wait to see Corridor Digital review that shot, because that's gonna be a really good one. Yeah.
I do think they took more advantage, specifically in this film, they took more advantage of Peter's ability to scale every surface. Yeah. Which I don't think has been explored in other Spider-Mans as much.
Yeah.
Maybe just the technology wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I feel like I haven't seen such unique angles since the animated Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah.
Back to twists though.
Okay.
Do you feel like for the Sadie Sink character, her and her sister, do you feel like they copied Stranger Things a little bit?
I mean,
that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, Sadie's playing a psychic character again. I don't know.
But she wasn't a psychic in Stranger Things. She was just possessed occasionally, but...
Did she not have any psychic powers at all? I thought she had psychic powers in Stranger Things. Or am I misremembering?
Eventually?
I thought at the end, they were basically giving it out like candy.
Season 4 is such a blur that I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
I could be wrong.
It felt a little bit like when they were writing the script, they were like, you know what? Sadie Sink spent a lot of time with Millie Bobby Brown.
In a coma.
So she probably knows how to play a crazy, gifted child who's treated like a monster, and we're just gonna slap a different name on it.
Yeah, it could be parallels. I don't know. I feel like if you draw that parallel, you can draw a lot of parallels to other things in media. So I would let that one go, even though I do see your point 100%.
Just maybe a smidge lazy?
Maybe.
Just a smidge?
Maybe. Yeah.
It probably wouldn't stick out to me so much if it wasn't Sadie Sink.
Probably. That's probably
because the
true.
Mind hopping and controlling was actually very cool, and I liked watching different random characters torment Spider-Man or lead him, or have his friends betray him. That was interesting.
Yeah.
But just the fact that they were using an actress from the Stranger Things franchise did make me feel like I was watching redheaded Millie Bobby Brown.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah, to bounce off your point though about using the telepathic powers to jump from person to person or whatever, that was really cool. And what a cool way to use what are essentially extras to have real meaningful lines,
right?
And actions to do in a movie. Most extras, and I'm sorry if I'm insulting the people who actually did this acting. I don't know if you're necessarily classified as an extra in
Probably
this.
Probably a featured extra.
A featured extra, maybe, yeah. But most extras tend to just do screams and gasps and laughs and just general audience reaction kind of acting. And this one, they actually got to perform and be part of the plot.
Right.
And that's pretty cool.
So
I really appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate good ensemble work as a theater person.
Yeah.
And it was just a very clever way to show a scary, power with limited effects.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This is something you could portray with nothing.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I have on my plate that is in spoiler territory is that I like that they're leaving the door open that MJ will eventually remember Peter. It was a little sad but realistic to have more of a Star-Lord Gamora type situation where she's like, I'm not the person you knew because I don't remember anything about anything we've experienced.
Yeah.
It made the romantic in me sad, but it made more sense.
Right.
But I did like the twist at the end where his best friend remembers him.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of
I was okay with that.
You were okay with that? I had a little bit of a guff with that because, again, the spell was supposed to erase everybody's remembering of who Peter Parker is and him being Spider-Man. And a handshake can undo that magic. I don't quite get it or buy it, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I can only assume...
Especially if Spider-Man can't, show affection to MJ and she can't remember him. But a handshake with his best friend can make him remember? I don't know.
I can only assume it worked because of bros before hoes is magic.
Okay, sure.
Nothing else makes sense. But it was a grain of hope after this really long, depressing journey for Peter where he's literally going into like power failure because he's so lonely and sad. And I needed a crumb of hope.
That's fair. I understand. It didn't line up for me, but I get it. Well, with that, I think we're gonna need to do scores for this one. I think you went last time, so I think it's my turn to go first this time. And I think I really like this movie. I think the only thing that's gonna make me deduct points is I do have a little bit of Marvel fatigue. It's Spider-Man, so that's a good thing. But there are just so many Marvel movies, and they're so intertwined and so interconnected, like we talked about. It's hard to get excited for them when they're announced. They're fun to go and watch, but when they get announced, it's like, oh great, here we go again. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
No, they're starting to feel like homework.
A little bit, yeah. So I'm still, even with all of that, I'm gonna give it an 8.25.
Oh, I was gonna say 8.5.
Okay.
I was gonna say 9 because riding high on the Spider-Man nostalgia.
Sure.
But then I remember that Marvel's heavily involved and that brought it down.
That brought it down.
It's still in the Marvel universe, which I have gripes with, so.
Yeah.
But it is an 8.5, and I do think it's worthy of how well it's doing, and I hope it continues to do well. I hope it brings more Spider-Man movies with happier but believable endings.
Yeah, that's fair.
I hope we can keep capitalizing on Tom Holland's youth before he has to suck the lives out of all the children in Salem to keep doing this
Keep
role.
young. Yeah. All right, well, that concludes our review. Please remember to leave a like and a comment for us, and if we've earned it, please subscribe to this channel. It really helps us grow. If you too are tired of the Marvel gravy train, you can try an old nostalgic video that we reviewed that we really, really enjoyed, and I think you guys might too. It's called She's Out of Your League. The card is linked, and please go check that one out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great night.
Bye.